Hey everybody, welcome back to Pagan's Witchy Corner. My name is Pagan, and I am joined by my reoccurring co-host, and that is Miss Kayla. Miss Kayla, welcome back to the show. I'm so glad that you are here.
Thank you, thank you.
So last week we started talking about energetic hygiene and why it's necessary. Well, in the process of gaining some of you wonderful listeners as potential pathwalkers and students, we realized that we needed to explain a heck of a lot more in those lessons. And so Kayla and I have been in the process the last few days reworking those lessons, expanding them, making them much more clear and concrete, and making sure that it was really easy for everybody to comprehend and understand what was being
E
talked about.
and exactly what we mean.
Exactly what we mean, yes. Sometimes we because we've been doing this so long, it's like, "Oh, yeah, we totally know what we're talking about," and then people be like, "I don't know what you're talking about. Can you explain that,
Mm.
please? I've never heard this concept," or, "I'm so new to this, I don't know what that means," or, "I've been out of it for a while, please explain." So we did. We went and broke a lot of that stuff down. We're gonna talk a lot more about it here on the show, but one of the biggest things that we noticed people were kind of getting tripped up on was the understanding of physical versus spiritual energy because let's be honest, they're not the same thing. They do overlap, but they're not the same. And understanding the differences between those actually helps your practice because then when you're trying to actually do your spiritual work, you can check in with your body and be like, wait, am I actually like experiencing spiritual stuff right now? Or am I experiencing physical stuff because of the fact that I haven't taken care of my body? I haven't gotten enough rest. I haven't done all of this. Are my emotions, because of the world being a mess, dysregulating me to the point that I can't really do what I'm doing? And then I get to the point where I think that I'm under potentially a spiritual attack when you're not. It could just be you might need a snack and a nap. So the differences between those, and we'll kind of break this down a little bit more together. But physical energy is kind of where it's rooted in the body. It's the biology of it. It's the energy within your cells. It's also energy that you get from things like sleep, food, hydration, movement, rest. It helps you also regulate your emotions. It fuels the fact that you can think clearly, move your body, and do all this without basically crashing. Because us humans sometimes like to push ourselves to the point of crashing. And then we're like, why does the world hate us when we're just really tired?
Or
So
hangry.
you're hangry, any of those things. And I know that there have been times, even in my own experiences in the past, where I'm like, why do I feel like I am just having the worst luck? Everything is awful. What is going on here? Who is touching me and freaking the fuck out all the time? But the difference is because I also have ADHD, sometimes I forget that food exists. And then I'm go into hangry mode, like Kayla just said, and I don't realize that's what's happening. And so it almost feels like it's a spiritual thing, but it's not. It's a physical thing. And then I have food and everything's fine again. So it ends up becoming this whole process of understanding what's actually happening, and being tuned into your body helps a lot with that. Because when your physical energy is not really up to par, not working the way that it's sore or way that it's doing, you might actually feel really tired, sore, foggy, unfocused. You might actually feel like, something is happening to you. You might feel like you're just, have the weight of everything touching you and you're just like, oh, why do I feel this way? And a lot of times our bodies, because they also do run on that physical energy, they will use various signals to say, hey, you are not feeling good. Hey, we need some rest. We need to take care of ourselves. You can't keep pushing like this. And if the normal signals like hunger, yawning, exhaustion, any of those things are not coming through, it will start to send different signals in different ways. Might feel like you're just really tingly at one point. You might have a lot more anxiety or you feel really burnt out or just your brain doesn't work and you feel like just a zombie. And the thing with the physical is nothing is going to fix the physical in terms of magic stuff. So no amount of magic work, tarot, meditation, breath work helps, but it's not going to fix the problem if you're ignoring what your body actually needs. And that's a big thing when we see a lot of people coming in and they'll be like, "Oh, hey, this is what's happening." It's like that's physical energy and not spiritual. Did I miss anything in the physical aspect, Kayla?
Nope, nope, you
Okay.
got it all.
Um, Spiritual's a lot harder to define. And unless you have a lot of scientific equipment at your house, which I guarantee you probably don't, because most of this is going to be found in like science labs and understanding where they study energy on a, I guess, almost
Molecular level
molecular
almost.
or, and I was going to say atomic level, even that
Yeah,
it's really hard to see where that comes down. Yes, it's showing up a lot more in neuroscience too, but we're not really able to define true spiritual energy yet. Our science is getting there, but it's not fully caught up, especially for, us mundane folks that live in the real world. We don't have access to those kinds of machines to see it. So spiritual energy is not something that you can really find in the biology of that. It's the current that flows deeper within. It fuels intention, focus, spiritual connection, even emotional presence and your energetic interaction. And we talked about like when you go into a room and you can tell that somebody just had a fight and the energy in that room just feels charged and makes you kind of cranky. That's spiritual energy. And yes, you can feel it physically. That's one of the things that starts to overlap. But it does make it hard to go, okay, is this my body? Is this somebody else's energy? Is it my energy? Or did I pick up something else? And that does happen, but understanding that and understanding the cues between those is the biggest thing. So, when you're trying to figure out, is this spiritual energy? The energy can feel kind of electric or charged or, even really big.
prickly.
Prickly. Prickly is a great word. Um, and when it's low, you might feel kind of almost like you're depressed, disconnected, scattered, or just off, even if your body feels fine, even if you feel like you have energy physically. Spiritually, you may just be disconnected and not really understanding why. And that could be because your spiritual energy is not balanced. There's something happening there and you need to tend to it. You can be physically exhausted and spiritually steady, but you can also be spiritually fine and physically fine and spiritually fried. Um, so knowing the difference between those is really great. And that's something that like I don't think that we talk a lot about in the community itself is understanding where physical energy and spiritual energy collide, but also how they're separate. And sometimes they get kind of muddled between each other. And understanding your body and understanding your spirit is something that I think every witch benefits from learning and knowing which is depleted. So that way you know when to ground or when to take a nap. That's the best way that I can explain it. So
Mhm.
hopefully as you guys are listening to this, especially if you're walking the tempering path, it helps. And I hope that it makes it a little clearer because I noticed that a lot of people didn't know the differences between those. And so I hope this has
Yeah,
helped explain it a little bit better.
yeah, and I hope it helps for those who are like, "Oh, I'm just tired," or I'm just worried about dealing with the people in the world," or I'm just run down from this, and that's spiritual energy because I'm dealing with the people in the world. Well, yes and no. You're dealing with the energy from the people, but and yes, that can be troubling in some parts of the time, but it's the energy that comes from those people that you're
Yes.
dealing with,
And
and that's the difference.
yes, and knowing that difference helps you determine what you need. You might need to cleanse, sure, spiritually get that gunk off of you, absolutely. But also, you might just need to come and sit in a quiet space for a while and just allow your own nervous system to regulate and relax, because
Exactly.
we as human beings, we can be very boisterous and loud and big and exciting and sometimes very angry and all of that. And so when you have all of that big energy and all of those big emotions and big things happening, and you're not somebody who likes being around all that, it can be very overwhelming.
You might just be overstimulated.
Yes, you might be overstimulated. And so understanding how overstimulation works for you, it can feel spiritual, but it's actually physical. And so it's hard to tell the difference between those until you really start to tune into your physical needs as well as your spiritual needs. And then you can start to separate what's what. And it takes time. So if you're over here going, I have no clue, no idea if I'm going to be able to actually do this, I don't have any idea. I've never done this before. It takes time. Just work at it, try, experiment, figure out what works for you, and then you'll be able to be like, yes, okay, I understand the differences between those two. And it takes some experimentation. Sometimes you might be hungry. Sometimes you're like, I need to just go lay in a dark room for a while because the world is too loud. And that's okay. That's a good thing. It's good that you're tuning into yourself. And the more you do that, the easier it will be to determine what is necessary and what is needed. So, that is one thing that we kind of really wanted to point out from, last week to this week, is because we wanted to make sure that that was kind of clear for everybody, because we noticed a lot of people didn't they struggled with that a little bit from coming in or even listening to the episodes. So hopefully that clarifies. If it didn't, leave us a comment and we will readjust and hopefully get you what you need and make it easier to understand. But the cool thing about this week is we wanted to go through some of the reflections on the lesson. Every lesson comes with reflection questions. And a lot of times our students are like, well, we never get to hear from the priestesses. And we're like, well, there's a lot of y'all. And so we can't just sit in a voice chat and, go through your stuff and art. We'd be there for hours and hours. It would be too long.
We would.
So that's why we said, okay, let's do a whole episode talking about some of the questions. We obviously, for every lesson, we're not going to get to every question. And that's because some lessons have 3 questions, some lessons have 20 questions. And it's not
Okay,
necessary.
maybe not
We're
20.
not gonna get through the 20. We're not gonna get through all of those questions because of that, and I don't want anybody to go like, "Why is there 20 questions?" It's not a bad thing, trust me. Those lessons are really big. They have a lot of information, and they want you to think about all the various pieces in them. Not every lesson is like that. Some lessons are really short and really easy. Some of them have a lot of information jam-packed into them. So don't panic. It's okay. Those are way far down the line. They're in like tier 5 or 6 or something like that. So you're going to be okay. you,
Yes,
you will be
yes.
very well versed in the
Breathe,
path
it's
before you get
okay.
there.
Breathe, it's okay. You can do this.
Yes, you can. And if you have questions about the questions or the lessons, obviously, if you're in the Discord, I know we talk about joining the Discord a lot, and we do harp on that a little bit because that's where all of these lessons are written out. That's where all this, great information is and the community is. So if you're in there and you have questions, you can ask. Every section has a ask the whatever in it. For the Edgewalkers, which is the first tier that we're working through right now, it's called Ask the Path. You can ask any question you need about the stuff that's in the lessons or the reflection questions, or you can come to one of the one-on-one nights, which we have on Thursday the 15th. And
Yes.
so if you want to come in and ask questions, or you have questions about just witchcraft in general, you can ask them on those nights as well. We basically set up a night once a month where we sit down with everybody and you come in and bring all your questions, and we'll sit there for a few hours and answer as many as we can. So,
Mhm.
in the reflection questions for lesson 1, which is all about energetic hygiene and what is energy, we ask the first question, which is, what parts of my body or spirit tend to speak the loudest when I'm ignoring my energetic needs, and why do I believe this? These are kind of tough questions, and they do make you think. And they're not questions None of the questions in any of our lessons should just be immediately answered. We encourage you to sit with it for a minute, think about it, let it kind of marinate in your bones, because when you answer immediately, it's an instant response. It doesn't really give you the depth of making sure that you are answering true to you. It might just be well, here's what I think in the moment. Well, do you really believe that in that moment? So that's why we encourage everybody to sit with it for a while. So I guess I'll go first and kind of answer my question, and then I'll let Kayla answer
You'll
hers.
be in the hot seat first.
I'll volunteer as tribute. Thank you, thank you. um, so what parts of my body or spirit tend to speak the loudest when ignoring my energetic needs? Probably it varies depending on what my energetic need is. So if I'm in need of quiet meditation or reflective practice within like deity work or altar work, I don't know if it's necessarily in my body per se, but it comes with a avenue of guilt. And so I don't know if I have a physical response to that. And if I do, it's because I've never paid attention to it, but also being chronically ill, I have a lot of stuff going on the daily. So sometimes I just ignore that because I don't realize, again, that could be physical, it could be spiritual. I just kind of lump it all into the physical. Um so I'm not sure if I have a physical response in that moment, but I do have a emotional response of guilt. And a lot of times because I feel like I should be doing more. And it's not so much that I'm doing it wrong. It's I feel like I should be doing more. Like I should be engaged in my practice every single day and do all the stuff every single day. But then I have to remind myself I'm human. And the why I believe in that guilt or why that happens to me is honestly rooted in trauma. It's rooted in trauma from growing up in a narcissistic home. It's rooted in trauma from my previous Christian upbringing. And it's rooted in people pleasing culture. And so I'm working through that, but I still have those moments where I'm like, man, I really need to be doing this. Like, I haven't, you know, set out new offerings or done all the stuff that I'm doing. I haven't really talked to the deities in a couple of days, or I haven't sat down with my altar in a couple of days. Oh, I really should do that. And you get this sense of guilt because of it. And it's not so much that I'm not doing it, it's sometimes I just get really busy or my chronic illness plays up and then I can't get to it. So while I do try to make the effort on the daily to do something, sometimes I just don't get there. And that doesn't make me a bad witch. And anybody who's listening, if you're dealing with the same thing, that doesn't make you a bad witch either. So don't let yourself feel guilted. And I have to tell myself that too. So, because of that. Now, in terms of other energetic needs, I would say a lot of times I feel it either in my sleep or I feel it on my shoulders, where like my shoulders feel like they're being pushed down. But again, it depends on the need. It depends on what's happening in those moments. Um or if I feel like I'm we call it pinging between all of us, especially for those of us who channel a lot. If I'm ignoring like messages or something from my guides, spirits, or anybody that's energetic that works with us, and I'm just ignoring it, and like I just don't really want to deal with you right now, please check back later. And if I'm ignoring those, sometimes those pings will cause like tinnitus almost, and it gets really loud and all that, and then immediately will stop when I'm like, okay, what's happening here, what's going on, and then I tune in and check in. So in terms of those physical things, I think that's what's happening for me when I do ignore it. And why I believe those happen is a lot of it is because I'm human and I'm chronically ill, but I'm also, a person who sometimes gets really busy and forgets that I also am a spiritual being and I deserve both. And so it gets really complicated for a little bit. But I think any part of spiritual practice is complicated because when it gets complicated, it doesn't mean that it's bad. It means there's growth happening. If it was easy all the time, we would just be engaged 24/7. But I think when we start to get into those growth periods, and I notice a lot when that's when I start really ignoring, is when I'm about to hit that uncomfortable phase of growth. And then it's like, oh, okay. I don't want to go through this again. But it's like, okay, here we go again. And that's happened a lot over the last, 25 years. So yeah, I think I answered that question. I hope I did. Did I answer that question, Kayla?
You answered that question.
Good. I tend to
So
ramble a lot. If you've listened to the show long enough, you know that I ramble. So sometimes Kayla has to be like, Pagan, darling, shut up. With love, with love. She would never say it maliciously.
with love, shush.
Yes. Okay. Kayla, you're in the hot seat now.
So, hot seat. When I when my spirit speaks the loudest, it bothers my sleep. So, Pagan and I are a lot alike in this way. But I'm an old school insomniac, have been since mm, middle school, high school. Um, and that's decades, y'all. Decades. I've been an insomniac. And so when my body and my spirit are speaking the loudest, it affects my sleep. And whether it's guilt that's bothering me, whether it's excitement that's bothering me, no matter what the thing is, my sleep is affected. If it's anxiety, my sleep is affected. Um, so there's moments where I'll get really, really down on myself about whatever's going on. And I'm with Pagan in the same boat. If I'm feeling guilty about having not done enough, of having not done enough work with my deities, having not done enough work with my altars, or whatever the case may be, I'll get down on myself about it. And the chronic illness being what it is gets in my head. It just gets in my head and then it affects my sleep. And it also affects my jaws. I clench my jaws, and that's how I feel it in my body. And it's just one of those things where I'll notice my jaws hurting and I'm like, "Okay, ease up, unclench, take a breath, take that cleansing moment to release the tension in your body because your spirit needs that." And um it also can affect my dreams when I'm not paying attention to my spiritual allies. My dreams can be affected. And my energetic needs, and I'm not a paying da, 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 when I'm not paying attention to my energetic needs, my dreams get wonky, my dreams get funky, and I can tell that my dreams are just not normal. That's the best way I can put it. Um, and you guys know, if you have any kind of spiritual dreams, they get wonky. They get a little funky.
Yes, they do.
And and so if you have spiritual dreams that go a little bit sideways, you know when that happens. if you have any kind of spiritual dreams at all. So, why I think that happens is partly chronic illness and partly spiritual trauma from growing up Christian, and partly Pagan and I are the same again, partly people pleasing trauma because I grew up, you please your adults, you please the people that are quote unquote above you, you please your parents, you please whoever it is that is the person above you. And as you grow and as you learn and as you evolve, you learn that nobody's above you.
Mhm.
Everybody's equal. And as you learn and as you basically de learn all of that stuff,
Unlearn, yes.
unlearn all of that stuff, all of that junk that you were taught when you were little, you realize, you don't need that in your life. You don't need that bad education in your life. And then it pops back up in these spiritual ways
Mhm.
sometimes. And so when it pops back up, you've got to go through the whole process of unlearning it, de-learning it, as I say.
De-learning's a fun word.
De-learning is better. And that starts a whole spiritual process again.
Yeah.
Did I answer that? I
You
rambled as
did,
well.
you did. And this is why Kayla and I work so well together is because we both can ramble each other into circles, and we're like, "Did we answer the point? Did we get there? I don't
Did
know."
we get to the point? I don't know.
But we do that really well, and it's one of the ways we work really well, together. So, one of the other questions that we have here is, have I ever mistaken spiritual exhaustion for physical tiredness or vice versa? And what happened when I did? Actually, yes. We talked a little bit about this last episode. Um, we and I'm going to speak a little bit for Kayla, but I'll let her answer this too. But we were both put on basically spiritual sabbatical by our deities because we were
Mhm. Mhm.
spiritually exhausted and physically exhausted because we just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to do all of the things and be the best leaders of the temple, making sure all the lessons were great, making sure that we were doing all the stuff that we were supposed to be doing. And we overworked ourselves to the point that we were hitting burnout. And we kept getting told, slow down, take a breath, take some time off, relax, breathe, do something else, go play a game, something, anything, take some time off. And we're like, okay, cool, we'll take like a weekend. And we did, but it didn't fix it. It was more of, no, you need to take like a month off and then you can reset.
Yeah.
And eventually it just got to the point where it's like, nope, we're not talking to you. We're not going to do anything. We're not doing anything until you guys rest. No more communication. We're not going to give you spiritual insight into lessons anymore. We're not going to do anything like that. And it's like, oh, it felt in the beginning a little bit like punishment, but it
It felt
wasn't
like being
punishment.
shunned.
It felt like being shunned. You have been exiled from the island. um,
You are the weakest link.
yeah. um, but in the end, it was a true blessing for us because it made us stop and then go back and reevaluate everything that we were doing and going, wow, we really took off way too much that we couldn't handle. And it was way too big, way too much. We were trying to be honestly, like we were talking about earlier with the Q&As, we were doing those once a week. And we were also doing our normal coven nights, our public nights. We were doing all of the other stuff that we were trying to do, plus writing lessons all day, every day for usually like 6 days a week, plus doing community
Mhm.
events, plus trying to, be spouses and families and take care of dogs and kids and everything in between and live lives on top of all that. And God, just saying it out loud sounds exhausting. um,
And get a meal in somewhere in
remember to
there.
eat. Yeah, that's important. Go to doctor's appointments and also deal with chronic illness. And you can't push like that when you're chronically ill, but we did anyway. For some reason, our brains thought it was a great idea to do that, and it was a terrible idea to do that.
It was a terrible idea.
We got a lot of stuff accomplished. It wasn't bad that we were doing stuff. We did get stuff accomplished, but eventually our mental fatigue was so strong that it made it be like, I don't even have a brain cell to write 5 words in a complete sentence and make it sound like I'm a functioning adult.
Make it sound like I know anything.
Right. So it was really exhausting and terrible in so many ways, and in the beginning, it really did just feel like, "Oh, I'm just tired." I'm flaring a little bit. It's fine. I'm okay. It's not that big of a deal. It's just I need to go take a nap. We'll just work for a few hours and then I'll go take a nap. It'll be all right. But it wasn't just physical exhaustion. It was spiritual. We were burning the
Yeah.
candle at every direction, not
Three
just both
ends.
ends. Top,
Three
bottom,
ends.
middle, and everything in between. And it was not good. And so I'm not saying that that's gonna be the case for everybody, and I've had other instances where I've had spiritual and physical exhaustion kind of overlap each other before. But in a lot of ways, when those moments happen, it's usually because I'm not remembering balance. I'm not remembering to take time for me to, go spend time at my altars in prayer, to remember to have some fun in between those things and enjoy life alongside all of the work. The work's great and I love it and I would never change it for anything. But I also have to remember that I'm not just a priestess 24/7. I'm also a wife, a mother, a dog mom, a friend. I do all of these other things. And when this happened, a lot of those kind of got pushed to the side. And so it was really hard to be when it started to really hit and we realized, oh, this really is burnout and this is why we were put on sabbatical. Then it was like, oh, I see now. I get it. And whoopsies. Sorry about that. Um, and then once, we took some time off and we rested and actually took care of ourselves, then we were able to go, okay, I've got ideas. The spark's coming back. Everything feels good. But we got to change all the stuff we're doing and how we do it because otherwise we're going to end up right back here again. And we
Yeah.
did. We changed everything. We changed how we were working, how we worked together, how we wanted to teach, and what the temple was able to teach us and give to us as well, and how we were able to also bring about work within the community. And so having spiritual exhaustion and physical exhaustion overlap like that sometimes isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just usually, when it gets to that point, it's kind of that red warning light that's kind of like buzzing in the back of your head that's like, hey, you need to reevaluate what's happening. You need to slow down, take some time, breathe for a while, and then go back to what you're doing. And living in today's world is exhausting as is, and spiritually exhausting as well. And we're not going to get deep into the water of anything political or world news or any of that because I don't want to bring that onto the show. I want this to kind of be a place where people can enjoy themselves. But it is hard to be spiritually involved in a world like today, not in a bad way, but because there's so much happening, it can be exhausting. And so having to protect your
Yeah.
energy and making sure that you're doing your energetic hygiene, I think is more important now than ever
Than
before.
ever. Than ever.
So that's my answer. That's my 2 cents. Kayla.
All of that, yes. Plus, round of applause for that. Plus, I have an example from years ago. My wife and I were doing I don't know if you would call it a ritual exactly. We were making something. I'm not gonna go into details, but we were doing this ritual, and it lasted 2 days, and after that, we were very young in practice, very young in ritual, didn't know everything we know now, and we had just been, I don't know the word to use, we had just been compelled to do this, and when we got finished, we were so tired that we just crashed and just thought, "Oh, this ritual's been so big that we were just physically tired from it." Well, no, it was spiritual exhaustion as well, and we didn't take the time to replenish our spiritual needs as well as our physical needs. And so what happened was we felt drained for a week. We were just drained. We just felt tired for a week after that because this happened on a weekend. And it was like you were just run down. And so what happens is when you mistake your spiritual needs, it can overlap into your physical body. So when that happened, it was like we overlooked the spiritual. We overlooked replenishing our spiritual needs. We overlooked doing what we needed to do spiritually to replenish and make sure that our energy was up, make sure that our energy was okay after that ritual.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense. It when you do a lot of really big workings, and also I'll add a little bit more to that. When we do a lot of channeling, we'll do big channeling sessions and talk to deity or, you know, if we have spirits that are in need of assistance and stuff like that, because we do death work as well. Um, when we have those big channeling nights and those big moments where there's a lot of energy that's been exchanged, it's very exhausting mentally,
Yes.
physically, emotionally, but especially spiritually because you give so much in those moments to, make that connection, do the work, and so on. And so having those moments where you're like, oh, yeah, I need to go and do something. So having the energetic hygiene
Yeah.
avenues is one of the best things you can do for it because you got to ground, you got to, make sure you're doing
Yeah.
all the stuff, the cleansings, because you do pick up a lot of spiritual gunk when you channel, and
Yeah, you
making
do.
sure
You really do.
that you're taking care of the spiritual needs and then take care of your physical. Because if you don't take care of the spiritual first, the spiritual will just continue to affect the physical. And so
It will.
that's my other 2 cents on that. But yeah, that's our 2 cents on that. um, so for our last question is, what fears or beliefs show up when I try to slow down and feel my energy? I'm gonna have to kind of go to the past for this, and a little bit, maybe a little bit to the future, but mostly the past, because I am now to a point where, outside of talking about, the burnout probably is the most recent one, but it wasn't so much of trying to slow down and feel my energy. It was, I've got so much momentum and so much great work that I'm doing. I want to keep going. And that's not really slowing down to feel my energy, but it was that I needed to slow down because I was overworking myself. But the difference between that and this is I think in the past when I would check in with myself spiritually and make sure that I was doing okay, make sure that I was feeling energetically sound and not spiritually exhausted or any of those things. I think when I would be like, oh, well, I know what I'm doing. I can do all of the things. It's perfectly fine. And even being chronically ill, when you say that, your mind will say that and your body laughs because your body's like, no, that's funny if you think that. But no, you cannot do all the things because you don't have the energy for it. You don't have the spoons. And so it's kind of the same way when in the past when I would do that, I'd be like, well, I don't need to check in with my energy. My energy's fine. I'm doing regular cleansings. I'm doing all the stuff I'm supposed to do. I've, done all of the work. I've appeased my deities. I've done everything in between. And then you get to a point when you're like, but did you do it out of obligation or did you really do
Mm,
it?
mm,
And being a younger witch at the time, I was doing it more because all the books, all the teachers, all the older elder witches that I knew were telling you, oh, just do all of these things. Practice it this way. Make sure you have all of the altar stuff you do. Make sure you appease your deities only this way. And then after a time when I got away from all that and started reading more in-depth books, especially books that dealt with a lot of chaotic deities or chaotic magic, um, I realized it didn't matter if it was perfect. It didn't matter that I needed to have everything just right. Sometimes my best cleansings that I've ever done in my home were literally blasting, you know, really loud music like Sleep Token. Yes, I'm a Sleep Token fan, don't judge me. Um
oh, yeah.
and blasting it as loud as I could and basically yelling get the fuck out. And
Hell yeah.
when I move later this year into a neighborhood, I don't think I can do that as much anymore
Yeah, you
because
can.
I'll have a lot closer neighbors than I do now. Living on a farm, I can kind of do that because there's my closest neighbor is like an eighth of a mile away. So, um, but I think
You can still do it. Screw the neighbors.
look at Caleb being a bad example. um, but I think when we get to that point with our energy and our magic and all of that, society tells us don't slow down, go fast, do the things, be ambitious. It's okay. Work yourself to the bone, make the money, appease the man, etc. Like it just is constantly in this drive of you have to do it all in that moment. And we don't allow ourselves to stop and go, no, just no. And it's not, I'm not saying, don't go to work and do all the stuff that you have to do to take care of yourself. I'm saying energetically, and spiritually, we don't have to do all of the things perfectly. And that's not saying don't learn your basics. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying in terms of having your altar be perfect, having your cleansing go exactly right. And if you fumble a word, it's like, oh, well, I screwed up my whole cleansing. Nope, you did not. You just say the word again. Because here's the thing, your energy, your deities, and everybody in between, they don't care if you mess up a word. They don't care if you stutter. They don't care if you stumble or accidentally not light your candle or forget to, do the oil or whatever. They don't care. They care about your intention. They care that you're present in that moment. And
Mhm.
those are the moments when you're like, okay, but I have to do this way. Nope. That's when you really actually should really step into that moment of slow down and ask yourself, why do I need to rush through this? Why do I
Right.
have to do this right this minute? Why does it have to be perfect? Who told me it had to be perfect? Who told me I have to use these 27 herbs? Otherwise, I'm going to be cursed or it's going to be
It's not gonna
ridiculous.
work
It's
right.
not going to work right or the devil's going to get me or whatever. Like, who told you those things? Because in those moments, you really got to look and go, where does that actually come from? Is that me? Did I learn that from somebody else? Did somebody tell me this has to go this way or else?
Or is that old knowledge?
It might be old knowledge, in the late 90s, 90s to early 2000s, there was a lot of good but also really bad witchy information. And I'm not
Mhm.
discounting the authors and the books and the teachers and all of that. They taught what they knew. And what they knew was a lot of it was culturally appropriated and a lot of it
Yeah.
was really damaging. It wasn't wrong for their time period, but now that we understand who the cultures, where those terminologies came from, where that work came from, a lot of it does come from closed practice. And so we had to
Yes.
go and find, where does this come from? And so when you say, "Oh, I have to do this way and it has to be done with this herb or this incense or this thing," you have to ask yourself, where does that come from? Am I
Mhm.
of that culture to practice that if that's something that's not common knowledge or not mainstream enough? Um or open, I should say, not mainstream, open, because a lot of close practices are mainstream. But is that something that I'm allowed to be using? Is this something that I should be practicing? Or am I just being taught this because somebody who I thought was a great teacher was actually doing me harm? Yes, I have had several of those teachers in my witchcraft practice, and they did some damage to me. And I had to unlearn a lot of things because of it.
You
And
de-learned.
I d I de-learned, yes, so I'm not saying that your fears and beliefs are bad, and I'm not saying that you're doing it wrong because this is the way that you were taught originally, or because you read a book that was very old and is outdated, and the sources that it came from were very not great sources. Um, None of that's bad for the time period, but for now, it might not be so great because we have grown and learned new ways. We appreciate the cultures and the people and the understandings of where those practices come from. And I know I'm rambling and I know I'm a little off topic, but I'm also not off topic. So, I just want to make sure that I'm expressing that sometimes when your energy feels like you're supposed to do something a specific way or you're supposed to slow down and it's telling you, no, go fast, that's usually the moment when you're like, maybe I should take a breath and just see what's actually happening here. And
Mhm.
sometimes there is also an outside influence that is telling you to go fast on something that may actually not be good for you. That's
Right.
happened to me as well. So I'm sure I got so off topic with that. And so I'm going to pass the mic to Kayla now because I'm sure I just completely rambled into left field with that. But it was all good information.
It's all good information. So, the question was, what fears or beliefs show up when I try to slow down and feel my energy? Um, for me, when I slow down and try to feel my energy, I'm gonna go a little ways back. Not now, but when I was beginning, my fear was that I was making everything up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very visual person. I'm a very metaphorical person. I like the visual that I can see in my head. And my brain was going, am I making up this energy signature that I feel around my body? Am I making up everything? Am I making up my deities even? Am I making this up? Because again, raised Christian, never heard the voice of God. Am I making that up? Am I making these deities up too? You know?
Mm-hmm.
I had that doubt in my head because I had the doubt from Christianity, Christian trauma. So I was still in that mindset back then. of, "Am I making everything up?" That's why I had that fear. The belief that I had was, "I don't know, but I'm gonna try." That was my belief, was, "I'm gonna try." And that belief was shown out. It was shown through of constant effort and constant showing up, whether I felt anything or not, whether I had that fear in me or not. I showed up, and that made the difference. Hopefully that answered your question
Oh, it did.
in
So
a
much
shorter.
so much better than mine. Mine was a ramble. Welcome to the inner workings of me, Pagan, who loves to talk, but also will ramble and talk your ear off and teach you about a billion things all in once. Hello, that's the tism. Um, so I will info dump on you about so much stuff. It's unreal. Um, but no, I agree with what Kayla said too, because growing up Christian, yeah, I never heard the voice of God ever.
No.
For 23 years I was in the church and I spent more time in the church than I did at home. And
Yeah,
I was involved in all the different things, so many ministries, so many different things. I worked
same,
in part of the
same.
college groups. I worked in oh, I did a million things and
Youth group, college group,
yeah,
kids choir,
um
did VBS, did all of the things.
I ran a worship service that was extra for on top of the normal worship services. It was all of the things that I tried to do and all the things I tried to, as bad as this is going to sound, get God's attention.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
never came through. It never like and there were moments where I would be so deep in prayer that I would be begging to hear something just to
Oh, yeah.
acknowledge that he was really there.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
all I got was crickets, nothing,
Yeah.
silence. And then when I left the church and started kind of looking into different religions and all that, like I literally looked at every religion outside of Christianity that I was able to participate in, from Buddhism, Taoism, all of it. Like I looked into everything, and witchcraft is one that felt most at home. And then the moment I started being like, okay, cool, and I don't remember exactly what happened, and I know I've talked about this a little bit on the podcast in the past, but this does kind of tie into that question of, slowing down and the beliefs and the fears and all that, is Loki came through for the first time. And
Mm,
I was like, whoa, what was that? Like, I heard you. What do you mean? Um, and it was a
yeah.
huge change because I believed so hard and so deep into Christianity and into the Christian God and wanted everything from that. And after, a lot of discerning questions and a lot of research into Loki, because, he just popped in and was like, hey, how's it going? And it's like, I don't remember even how he and I really started working together. I don't remember there ever really being a conversation. I think it was just kind of he showed up and was like, hey, I'm here now. What's up? I've been here the whole time. I was
Yeah.
just waiting for you to notice me.
Yeah.
um, but
And, like, I didn't never have the voice of God.
mhm,
The only, quote, "answer" that I ever got was after research and digging into Christianity and digging into history and everything else, and that was that being gay wasn't wrong.
yeah.
That was my answer because I prayed and prayed and prayed trying to pray the gay away. That was what I was doing, was trying to pray those emotions away. And so the only quote answer that I ever got from the Christian God was digging into the Christian belief system
Mhm,
and digging into that. But I never heard the voice of God until after being pagan.
mhm.
As odd as that is.
It is odd, I I know that there are Christians out there who do hear the voice of, Jesus or whatever, and everything in between that, and that's great. Nobody's knocking that. It's just when you become pagan, you realize there are deities who will work with you, deities who want to work with
Yeah,
you, and there will deities who will entertain a presence with you or an audience with you, but they have nothing to do with you and don't want anything to do with you beyond that. Especially if you're like us that are channelers, sometimes we'll channel other deities for other people. And sometimes those deities are like, get off my lawn. Like, they don't want anything to do with you. They don't want to talk to you because you're not part of who they want. And that's not saying that they're bad. It's just they're particular, and that's no fault
yeah,
to them. And I think that the Christian God is a particular God as well. I think that he
yeah.
has those he wants to work with and others he don't. We ended up in a rabbit hole, and I'm sorry for those who are listening. I hope you enjoyed our rabbit hole, but we do this all the time. And so, yeah, see, welcome to
Get ready
also
for
some.
lots of rabbit holes.
Yes, I was gonna say, welcome to behind the scenes of Kayla and Pagan, where why does it take you 3 hours to do something? Well, we started here, ended up in 37 rabbit holes, got lost, found our way back, and now we're back to work. Which is completely exactly what happens there. But
And
there
sometimes we're meant to be there, and
which
sometimes
true.
that's just where we're supposed to be.
Exactly.
You never know.
There are 4 reflection questions on lesson 1. We're not gonna give you the 4th one because, A, we're out of time, and B, um, join the Discord and go find out what it is. Hee hee.
Yeah.
The That's
Smile.
my shameless plug of come join the Discord. It's not shameless. Well, yes, it is shameless. But anyway, join the Discord. It's a great time there. We do have a lot of fun. There's so much great work that we have put into the tempering path, especially if this is something that you're interested in. Please come and join us. On Thursday, January 15th, this episode comes out on January 14th, so it'll be the day after. So if you get to hear it, great. If you don't, that's okay. There'll be another one in February. We just don't have those dates written out yet. Bear with us. We'll have those by next week. But we have the Q&A with the priestesses where you get to come and sit down with us. You can talk about questions from the tempering path. You can ask us questions about witchcraft in general. If we have the answers or if we don't have the answers, we will look them up, find them out for you, and eventually get back to you either in a DM or in one of the text channels. But we will find answers if we need be. A lot of times we know those answers, but sometimes we have to go, I don't quite remember, or I'm not too familiar with that topic. Let me get back to you, and we'll go hunt it down. But yeah,
Or
that's
we have to say, "I have that book. Give me a minute."
let me go find the book and read through it for a moment. I'll catch up with you in a minute. Um, so Kayla and I both have very vast witchcraft libraries. I think mine might be just a little bit bigger than hers, but we both have very
Yes.
big libraries in terms of knowledge because we're both bookworms and love that. Um, Coming up next week, you will not see Miss Kayla on the show because it'll just be me because I'm going to be here leading a meditation for you to tell you how to or teach you a little bit to fill your core and meet your energy from the inside out, and also teach you how to do an energetic check-in. This will be part of your learning how to do your energetic hygiene and will also be good to for the coming lessons later on. And then Caleb will be back the week after that for a fun temple teaching, which we have written down, but I think we've changed it since then. And I can't remember what it is off the top of my head without going and looking. But we will
It
have
is core practices for energetic
is
hygiene.
that what it is?
Yes.
Is that the temple
I
teaching?
believe so. Oh, the temple teaching?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know the temple teaching.
Yeah. I don't know what the temple teaching is that we're going to talk about. But stay tuned.
It'll be a surprise.
I will let you know by the end of the meditation next week. So I'll put it in the show notes so it doesn't actually detract from the meditation because when I do meditations, I don't really like to give a whole bunch of news and, what's going on, catch up stuff. I usually just go straight into the meditation. And that way, if you guys need to repeat the meditation, it's there for you. Um, some of the meditations will have ads, and that's because That's how I pay my bills. So, make sure if you don't want ads, you are a subscriber. The only place that will not have ads in it will be YouTube for that. I will turn the ads off specifically for that. So, but if you're listening to it anywhere else, everywhere else will have ads. So, just for the record, going forward in meditations on YouTube do not have ads. So, that being said, that's where you will find that. Yes, come join us in Discord. It's a good time. We look forward to seeing you there. I hope you guys who have started the path with us are enjoying it, and I hope that you will also enjoy continuing going through the path with us. And we have a lot of really cool, exciting stuff coming up. So come join us. It's a good time. And yeah, if you are also, because I don't think I will, let me double check that before I say something. Um, I'm going to say we do have our Echo of Embers thing that's happening on January the 29th, which is also a Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And that is a devotional service that we will be leading. And so you can come to that if you want to. We hope to see you there. It's the same time for the meeting with the priestesses, which is on the 15th of January. The reason I'm saying, giving you the announcement of the one on the 29th is because, again, next week is a meditation. I don't do a lot of news in those. So if you want to be part of that, it's on the 29th. There will be, again, an episode on the 28th. We'll talk about stuff on the 29th then. But in case you wanted to make plans or arrangements beforehand, now you know. Other than that, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being here. Thank Kayla for being here and sharing her wonderful wisdom with me and with all of you. And join us in Discord. It's always a good time. And we will see you all next week, or I will see you next week for another episode, and then we will see you again the week after that. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Take care of
Thanks,
yourselves
everybody.
and be kind to each other in this crazy world. Bye bye, everyone.